Thank you so much for listening to two old bald men try to explain difficult passages in the Bible. And again today I'm going to ask Rudy to do most of the explaining because this is a tough passage. We're in Isaiah chapter 63. And he's been helping me with my pronunciation of words, which is why I'm still laughing over that. It's kind of fun. Isaiah 63 verse 1. Who is that comes from Edom, from Basra, in garments stained crimson? Who is this so splendidly robed, marching into his great might? It is I, announcing vindication, mighty to save. Why are your robes red, your garments like those who tread the winepress? The answer is, I have trodden the winepress alone, and from the peoples no one was with me. I trod them in my anger, trampled them in my wrath, and their juice is splattered on my garments and stained with all my robes. For the day of vengeance was in my heart, and the year of my redeeming work has come. I looked, there was no helper. I stared, but there was no one to sustain me. So I brought my own arm to victory. Rudy and I, and my wrath sustained me. Rudy and I have talked about how he has a little dyslexia, so do I. I skip words, so read this on your own. I'm going to ask Rudy to talk about this. This would be an easy passage to skip, but the word Edom jumped off the page for me, and I know Rudy has some insights about Edom, and I'd like to talk about that. And then this is a passage of some pretty strong judgment. So why is God speaking strongly against the Edomites? And I'll just turn it over to you, and I'll make some notes on my little tablet here.
Well, Edom is another name for the children of Esau.
Right.
And Edom is just directly south of Israel, of Judea, and it was a kingdom. And God, one of the things that disturbed me when I read it, and disturbs me to this day, is that God said that he always hated Esau. And it doesn't seem as though that's possible. I don't believe that God hated Esau as a person. I believe that Esau is the spirit of Babylon. And interestingly, Esau is Jacob's twin. So even though out of the mouth it's not supposed to be coming praise. Out of the same mouth that praises the Lord shouldn't come words that speak poorly of God.
Right.
But out of the womb, there was two different spirits put into the earth for us to be able to identify the differences.
Okay.
And Edom helps us identify this difference between who God knew was going to follow him, which was Jacob, Israel, and Esau, who did not.
Right.
So it seems to be natural that God would come from the stronghold of the evil one to come into his glorious place to be enthroned on earth. So when we read in the passage of the Sentinels, what did they hear? They heard that Babylon had fallen. And what we had looked at in Isaiah 62 before we got to 63 was the overview of God winning this battle, the millennium reign happening, and then knowing that eventually eternity would start. What we have here in 63 is a microscopic view of what's going on, not an overview. And the only way to really, another way to actually identify what's going on here is to look for the companion passage. Mm-hmm. And the companion passage is in Habakkuk.
Okay.
And Habakkuk, about 250 years after Isaiah, wrote this. God came from Teman. Teman is one of Esau's sons, the Holy One of Israel from Mount Perah, which is to the south. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. The brightness was like the sun rays. The brightness was like the sun. Rays came forth from his hands, where his power lay hidden. And I remember thinking about that, and this picture is like this glorious picture of this one coming from Edom, because that's what Teman is. And then it says that Habakkuk saw that the rays were coming from this glorious one's hands. And I remember asking God, what did he see? And after some time, God showed me this. Jesus' face, we learned from the book of Revelation, is 7 times brighter than the sun. And it's probably 1,000,000 times brighter than the sun. But rays of light coming through his hand, God showed me that they were the rays of light emanating from his body and his face, coming through his nail-scarred hands.
Wow.
Hallelujah.
Right.
What a picture to be able to understand. And I don't believe that a human being on their own could see that. But going back to Isaiah 63, we find out some information there that it is I. And there was no one with him, so his own right arm had to do it. That's why we know that Jesus comes back in glory to be able to do the vindicating work that the earth needs.
Let me see if I can, and you correct me here, Rudy, on some of this. You were talking about how Jacob and Esau came from the same womb. When you said that, I thought, as much as I'd like to really like it, I've got a little of that Esau inside of me, along with a little bit of Jacob. All right, and that was a thought that came to me. And the other thought is that sometimes we read passages and we think, how can God hate Esau, a person? That seems so different from what we read about Jesus in the New Testament.
Right.
But when you say Esau is actually an evil spirit, not of the nation Babylon, but a spirit of evil, well, I can understand God hating evil. And I've used this illustration a number of times. If my grandkids are playing with bugs, they love bugs, and one of them happens to be a black widow, I guarantee I'm going to squash that black widow as fast as I can, because I do not want them harmed. And God hates evil because he knows what evil does to humans. Why does God allow evil to exist? Well, if he doesn't want us to be robots, then we have to have the potential to do what is wrong. And so when God looks at all of his messed up, confused humanity, who is the one that can save us? He is. God, can save us. He is the one who will defeat.
He's the only one.
He is the only one who will defeat evil and bring life to us. Why don't you have the final word and we'll close this up?
There are so many final words to this, I don't know which one.
Pick one.
What would be...
Maybe we ought to just stop.
Well, maybe. But the spirit of Babylon is ultimately the spirit that ends up hurting us. And
right.
In the end, at the end of the millennium reign, the evil one is let loose. But we still built the circumstances to this world battle without his help. So it's not only the spirit of Babylon that is cultivating our evil. The flesh has something to do with that.
Right.
And that's actually where we have to turn to the Lord for direction.
You got it. Thank you, Rudy. Thank you for handling a tough passage. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Read through that passage because I bungled a few of the words. God bless you. You take care. We'll see you tomorrow.